Here's what different areas of the United States call this thing. Depending on where you live in the US, this thing has different names. Let's say you live in the Northeast, specifically in Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, or Massachusetts. You might call this a sub, which would be short for a submarine. I mean, it makes sense. It looks like a submarine. Granted, it doesn't go underwater or anything, but the name fits well. So, how was the name started? Well, there was an Italian immigrant in New York. He had a grocery store which sold bread. After visiting a recovered submarine at a museum in Paterson, New Jersey, he named his bread a submarine. This next one may have originated from Hog Island, Pennsylvania. The people that worked at the shipyard were nicknamed Hoggies, and they would bring in large sandwiches for lunch. This is where we get the name hoagies. The word hoagie is typically used in Philadelphia, South Jersey, Baltimore, and the Delaware Valley. In northern New Jersey and New York, they call them heroes. You know, like a superhero. Apparently, back in 1936, a woman named Clementine Paddleworth wrote for a food column. She wrote, "Since the sandwich was so large, you had to be a hero to eat it." But that might not be entirely true, since we can't search the paper's archives online. Although it does sound good. It may actually be a mix of the Greek sandwich gyro. They do rhyme, gyro, hero. Maybe someone just got them mixed up. Well, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the origin of the word hero was a armored car guard's jargon for a big sandwich. The next name is used in the Midwest, Sacramento, and most of New England, except Boston. They call it a grinder. You really wonder how they got the name. It's really easy, actually. Since they're big and a bit hard to chew, it got the name grinder because you had to literally grind your teeth to eat the massive sandwich. What would you like on your wedge? Wedge, used in most of Westchester County, New York, Yonkers, the Bronx, New York, upstate New York, and Fairfield, Connecticut. It sounds a bit weird, but you may be surprised how it got its name. Let's just say laziness got in the way. Pretend you own an Italian sandwich shop. Would you want to say sandwich all day? No, of course not. You would eventually cut off the sand and start calling it a witch, or with an Italian New York accent, a wedge. It could also just be called a wedge because the fillings are wedged between two pieces of bread. The Zeppelin. They call it the Zeppelin in eastern Pennsylvania, New England areas, and parts of New Jersey. This one is quite simple, and it's relatable to the way the submarine got its name. Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin was an aircraft manufacturer. He created the dirigible. People found the resemblance between the dirigible and the sandwich and came up with the name Zeppelin. This next one originated in New Orleans and is used throughout the Gulf Coast and the South. We're talking about a po' boy here, or a poor boy. The sandwich got its name back in 1921 when free sandwiches were handed out to workers on strike. The sandwich makers called the workers on strike poor boys every time they would come in. The name has stuck ever since. Last but not least, we have the Cuban. Parts of Florida like Key West, Miami, Tampa, and Cuban areas around the US call it this. It's believed the sandwich was created in cafes catering to Cuban workers in southern Florida. What do you call this? Is it a sub, a hoagie, hero, grinder, wedge, Zeppelin, po' boy, Cuban, or maybe you have another name for it?